Hi, I'm Jennifer Sir, owner of The Sewing Room. I'm also the owner and founder of Bonjour Teaspoon Designs, and my newest pattern is the Frannie Adventure Doll. I created Frannie in tribute to my grandmother who grew up in the 1920s. These videos will help you assemble your doll and make her the best doll she can be. Please feel free to comment below, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Sewing the head to the doll body. First, I get a needle threaded, a double strand, and I make a nice knot. Then I'm going to take my head here, and my head is packed really firmly. And as you can see, there's a little bit of space at the bottom, probably a good 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to fold back the head and finger crease the seam allowance. So I'm folding back the seam allowance to the inside of the head at the neck and creasing it. And I'm folding it back like between 1/4 and 3/8. And finger creasing it till I get all the way around. Okay, once that's done, we want to make sure we have the front part of the body going into the front part of the head. So it's easy to tell the front from the back because the back has a little derriere here. So we're going to put the head straight in and then pin it to the body. Grab my pins. So what we're going to do is we're going to push the head down pretty much as far as we can get it onto the body. We want our seam allowance tucked towards the inside. It's a little tricky, so if your seam allowance isn't sticking like mine isn't, you want to really tuck it and crease it as much as you can. And then I have some pins here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this neck really tucked into the head. And I may have to force it a tiny bit, but the whole point of doing this and having the head and neck firmly packed is so that the neck stays really stable and doesn't get floppy, because who wants a doll with a floppy neck? So as you can see, I'm pinning the head. I'm trying to match the shoulder seam to the side of the head. And I'm pinning. Once you get a couple sides pinned, the other side is a little easier to deal with. So I'm going to tuck that seam allowance back inside like this. I can tuck it in with my pin. And I will try to line up the shoulder seam to the neck seam. And pin it into place. Now I'm going to take a look and make sure it's pretty even and not tilted one way or the other, which seems like on that side of the neck it's a little bit lower. So on this side I might just try to bring this out and a little bit lower. So I'm pushing it down and pinning it. All right, so there we go. We have it. We have our head pinned onto our body, and now it's time to sew. So we'll take our needle and thread, and we want to just do this a little bit to our thread. That helps the oils in our finger, help straighten out the fibers in the thread and help it from tangling up when we're sewing. Then I'm going to start from underneath and poke up through. So I want my knot to get hidden underneath. And I am going to take this pin out. And I'm going to take small little stitches. So I'll grab a few fibers from the body, and then I'll come up through the head. And I want my stitches pretty close together, about 1/8 of an inch. And I just go around the head just like this, grabbing a few fibers from the body and then coming back up through the head right on that crease. The neck, I guess it's the neck. Yeah, like that. So we're just going to continue around until we get all the way around the head, or all the way around the neck. And I can now take this pin out and so the closer your stitches are together, the more stable that seam is going to be. I'm trying to get it right on the edge of that folded edge, so it becomes as invisible as it can be. If we come too far up like this, then we tend to see all the stitches, and then it kind of looks a little bit Frankensteinish. So you're going to want to try to get them close together and have the needle come out right at that crease in the neck. Or the crease in where the seam allowance turns into the inside. So I can take this pin out and I will start stitching down this guy, the side of the neck. Now if you get to the back and you have a little space in the back of your neck that you want to fill, you can grab a little bit of stuffing tiny bit of stuffing, and you can poke that back in there. So I'm going to use my scissors just to poke it back up inside the head, just to give it a little more fullness right there. And once that is in there and I feel like it filled out a little bit more, I'm going to continue with my stitching. Back. You can clean up all the loose fibers after you get that neck sewn on. You need to tuck any fibers inside. It's probably best to do it with the pin instead of your scissors so you don't accidentally break your threads. Or you can kind of pull them out if those guys are super bothering me, but I can continue to work on that afterwards, cleaning all of that up. So it doesn't take that long, but it is important to get this neck situated first before you get started with your sewing. And as we come around, we have the last few stitches to do. those fibers in if I can. And I'm gonna try to pull this head down a little bit with my string just so I can cover up this knot that is there from when I started. I don't really want that to show, so I'm going to try to get the neck fabric to cover it up. So we finished sewing the neck for the Frannie doll, and we did that by doing a little knot at the joint where the shoulder meets the head, and after we tied our knot, we buried our threads inside, cut our thread. We're done. I've linked the pattern to the Frannie Adventure Doll in the notes below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. It really helps us out.